RadioZero.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose, Sunday, June 23rd, 2024, 5 p.m. Central. I read it off Facebook.
Where we live stream on Facebook, on the Radio Zero page, and on the Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJCUSA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. Typically on Fridays at 5 p.m., every other Friday, 5 p.m. Central, but today it's a special Sunday episode at 5 p.m. Central. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. Go to radiozero.us. You can patronize us at patreon.com/radiozero. And, oh man, don't have my tape ready.
Romper bumpers, stomper boo, tell me, tell me, tell me do. Tell me, magic mirror today, did all of my friends have fun at play?
We have a new Patreon
donor.
Keep
getting lots
very generous.
That's really nice.
Yes, Amanda H.
Yay.
I can't remember. I feel like that.
It's Pop Goes the Weasel.
But from Romper Room also, I believe.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, maybe.
They're
okay.
both from Romper Room, but I can't remember. So the other one kind of makes sense because it's...
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the ending Romper, I just don't remember. I'm going to have to listen to an old show and find out.
Which you can do, probably.
Yes, so at radiozero.us.
Yeah. Stephen Williams says a special Sabbath edition.
That's right.
So wait a minute. All right. So when I see the word Sabbath, usually to me that means Friday night. But I guess there's Sabbath on the Sunday too.
Well, it depends on if you're a Jew or not, I guess.
It's all right. So what do we have? So I wasn't here on Friday because I was visiting my mom. Was I fighting with her then? I'm trying to remember if we were having an argument. We may not have been.
On Friday?
Or was I back here?
You came back.
No, I
you
came
flew
back. Yeah, I flew
Friday,
back on
so
Friday. Yeah, we could have done it.
The way the dynamic works, I believe you would have the fight the night before.
No, the morning of.
The
leaving. Yeah, I didn't even realize that's her thing, not mine.
Yeah, having a fight in order to eliminate.
So you don't feel bad that the person's leaving.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, the person's gone all the time. And then the person, like, I could see how you could, like, if your friend, your best friend is moving away, let's say, or you're moving away or something like that, you know, and then you have a fight with them, that makes sense. But if it's like somebody who's just come to visit for like a couple of days and then is going to go back and then is going to come back and visit again, like, what's the point of having a fight? That's, I don't know. But I'm sure she's not listening to this. I hope she's not listening to this. Yeah, no, we had a great time. You know, we had a good time together. I guess when you get to be in your 80s, you don't really need to do that much stuff. You don't feel like you have to do this and you have to do that. Like you're just happy sitting around and you know, you don't want to learn to sew and you don't want to learn capoeira and you don't want to learn what are the other things I wanted to teach her. You don't want to learn how to crochet and you don't want your daughter to buy you a serger, you know, like you just think of the things I inundated her with, this poor woman.
Just the nonstop.
And then like you know, and then like also like Mom, here, watch, you know, she's a Democrat like we are, and she's surrounded by Republicans there, right? Completely surrounded by and not even like she's surrounded by the kind of Republicans that insult, you know, that like what is she like these really nice. I love the people that live there, and I love all the people who I haven't gotten to see them for a couple of times.
The Trumpers, you love the Trumpers.
I like them.
Florida Trumps.
But we don't talk politics.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're the kind of people who like will post on Facebook, you know, like they'll say that Joe Biden is a what do you call it? Like a criminal. He's a criminal and he's destroying America, but he's a criminal too. He's corrupt. like going past like the I don't like him because it's taken away. I have to pay more taxes and stuff. He's an evil person, and he does cocaine and stuff like that kind of stuff. So she's surrounded by that. So I'm like, Mom, here are some podcasts to listen to, and like I pull up like. It's the same that Graham does to us, or does to me, like with the yelling guy. What's the Some More News guy? He's like, you need to listen to this Some More News, because that's his daily show. That's his Johnny Carson, right? Is the Some More News, and you always go, oh, is that the yelling guy? But I was like, Mom, here, you need to listen to Rachel Maddow. And she's like, her thing is like, how can I get the Republicans to listen to this? And I'm like, no, that's not what it's for. It's to make you just feel better that there are other people who, it's like a cold shower, not a cold shower, but like a nice, it's like, oh, look at this crazy, like, it's like Fox News, except it's on your side. She's like, well, I'd rather listen to more centric news. And I was like, well, you should listen to NPR. Yeah. And I laughed after I said it too.
No, but it is, yeah.
Right.
I think in a reasonable world, it is.
Yeah. Anyway,
more centrist.
What were you saying?
I was just saying, Florida is a swing state there, and there are other more left-leaning people. Your mother's age there. She's just not in the right neighborhood, right?
No, it's not even that. She lives in the adult community, and I was out like in the evening by the pool once when I was there, and I met all the Democrats. They're like, "Hey, how's it going? We're Democrats." They're like they tested me. They're like, "Yeah, sure is warm out."
You want some weed?
Yeah. They asked me if I wanted
smoke?
some weed. Yeah. No, but it's like old people who are Democrat, like real Democrats, and they get together and they hang out. And I'm like,
dope.
Mom, you should hang out with she'd probably like that, but no, she doesn't. She doesn't want to go out or anything. She's just. It's within the year that she's lost my dad. And she's never been. She's I don't know. It's been rough for her. It's been very rough for her. But anyway, so I said, like, here, Mom, watch this podcast. And I can't remember what one I showed her. It might have been a Jon Stewart or something. We had to turn on the captions because you can't really understand. And what was he talking about? He's talking about something like, he was talking about Trump probably and stuff like that. And he made a silly face, and that was funny. And I was like, it's just not Johnny Carson, like not the vibe of Johnny Carson. There was no dancing monkey, and he wasn't wearing a hat, a Middle Eastern hat, and telling fortunes or whatever Johnny Carson.
I don't remember the dancing monkey.
I probably had that, wow. Like that. That's like more old people. Or silent generation stuff, right? So I'm really excited that Jon Stewart is back. And then there was a John Oliver thing that I wanted to talk. Was like last week tonight, or yesterday this week, or last week tonight, or something like that. I'm kind of researching the podcasts that tell young people why they should vote. Like I'm trying to, I don't know, in an effort to help out our, he who used to be named Dairy King.
Well, there was something interesting that Cory Doctorow interview on the media, talking about enshittification and talking about how actually podcasting has seemed to has dodged this bullet because it's a open source platform, right? The RSS feed. And that how Spotify tried to, enshittify it and kind of capture it like they did, by
so happy
giving
to hear
Joe
that.
Rogan, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's that idea of, I can't remember what he calls it. It's when you give a few people on the network in the service a prize. Basically, you give them the door prize. The Big Bear is what he calls it, because there was a fair that he went to when he was a kid, and the guy who ran the booth with the ring toss and everything like that, he would give a person
a big bear,
the first first person
Right,
of the day,
and they'd walk around
and kind
with
of they'd
it, and
walk
everybody
around
would
with it,
see
and
it,
everybody
yeah.
think, and it's that idea with these platforms, and so that's what Spotify was trying to do with Joe Rogan and a few other people, and trying to corner it, but they couldn't. It didn't work, right? And and part of that argument is the open source nature of podcasting. So, and then also talking about then that other thing about the politics, right? The Ezra Klein thing about the politics not being a division between left and right. It's between
I told her about that.
people
Who follow news and people who don't.
right, who care about politics,
Yeah.
and then everybody else, right? And that's the actual divide, and then also getting politics, and then the people who are not, politically, sort of active, or like wanting, like junkies, right? And listen to NPR all the time and listening to these guys. They get their politics from what's perceived as non-political sources, like Joe Rogan, but then
Yeah.
also kids, and so like our younger son talking about how, his older brother is complaining about what he's listening to because it's like, that's politics too. And it's like, no, it's not politics. This guy's talking about, other stuff, but it's like, everything's political, right? And then so finding those
Right. Oh, yeah.
non-political, perceived non-political outlets that are actually political. That's how people are getting their politics through osmosis, because they don't want to listen to, like us
Somebody
babbling
yeah.
about politics,
right? And being and scaring them about what's going to happen
and
if
the
Trump
news
gets elected,
and,
right?
And even something like Fox,
Really important, yeah. And so for those people who get, and he finished right by saying that for the people who, or I maybe didn't even make it through the whole thing, but for the people who get their news that way, Trump is ahead like 60 points or 16 points or 18 points.
Yeah, because
like
of those kind of more generalized sort of perceptions that come out of these supposedly non-political outlets, right? But yeah, so you're saying, so that's the thing, is you got to find something for your mom that's not, obvious. And so that's like some kind of Lifetime show about a politician murdering his wife, right?
No, murdering her husband.
Murdering her husband.
Husband, yeah,
Yeah.
So you're probably right about that. I don't know what she watches lately, but so my critique of the stuff of the Yelling Man and what Graham watches is that, the guy will be like, well, Trump is ahead by, 20 points in these cities. It's kind of like if an elephant fucked a duck. Ha! Anyway, Trump, blah, blah, blah. So it's like they do a little bit of politics and like truth. And then they go, it's kind of like if a pizza fell on the floor and somebody shat in it. It's always like something fucking something else, or something fucking. It's always a sexual thing.
Right. They add in
like a little
kind of a non
levity.
sequitur.
Yeah, non sequitur levity thing. And this is my critique of that kind of news. It's and John Oliver does it too. I guess probably why I don't listen to him. I don't remember Jon Stewart doing that when I watched The Daily Show. He made, he'd be like, go on. He has the clips of video, and I guess I listened to Jon Stewart, like some Welcome Back podcast, so maybe he was the first one to actually have video feed and then critique it and stuff like that. Which pissed me off too, because then I listened to another podcast that's he had like the Joe Biden wandering off little video feed, and he was like, Joe, come back, come back. Apparently that was like taken out of context. He had gone off to greet somebody off camera.
Yeah.
And even fucking Jon Stewart took that that made me so mad.
And I believe that Daily Show format that was before Jon Stewart, but I mean that was the idea of the Daily Show, I believe. It was kind of like Talk Soup. Yeah, Talk Soup was like that too. It's a very 90s kind of where people reacting. It's kind of like reaction videos, I guess, is what they have now, right? But it was that idea, except before they had to have a production staff watching all of, 24-hour news, looking for nuggets to pull and comment on.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe that's what they needed to use that, but that's just like, it's more like, oh yeah, Joe Biden is crazy, is what is it called when you can't remember anything? That. got Alzheimer's. And so, but my critique, like I can't watch or listen to the funny news things where they give you a little bit of news and then they say it's kind of like fuck, and fucky, ha ha ha. Anyway, blah 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 blah. That's kind of like fuck. You know, I can't listen to that. And so, but I pulled up the
new comedy.
Yeah, the new comedy. So I pulled up the John Oliver thing for my mom, and John Oliver starts like he's like this is about like why Trump shouldn't be reelected. It talks about like Project 2025. It talks about him like I think the crux, like the meat of it, is just talking about reclassifying, like his plan to reclassify. There's two groups of employees in Washington. One are the experts that go over all of the stay through all the different presidents.
Bureaucrats, I can't remember what you call them.
Like Anthony Fauci, and I can't remember what class of employee those are.
Yeah.
Like the experts in their fields. They're selected. They're there because they're experts in their field. And then the other class of employees, and they have a great graphic too. The other class of employees that are there, because to help the president because they believe in his mission.
Political employees, yeah. So it's,
and so he's going to reclassify. Like this is what the John Oliver thing talks about. Just the reclassification of the people who have been there forever, the people who are experts in the field, and or just throwing them out. Yeah, Danny Ingram, hello, career bureaucrats. You're right in the Washington D.C. there, so you know what I'm talking
so that
about.
book, The Fifth Risk, that was all about that after Trump's first election. Well, The Fifth Risk was all about those people and the threat to them and how certain, like the Department of Energy and was being threatened by so
this
politicalization.
This is all like I've got two paths here. One is the thing where I tried to show this to my mom, and the other path is this hit home for me because I was talking to you and I was already threw up my arms and I'm like, you know what? I don't care. We're going to get, our investments will go up or something like that, right? If and when Trump gets reelected, like it's not going to hurt us at all. And you're like, we're government employees at a university. We're at a public university.
Public university.
That's what you said. And I was like, what? But we're in Illinois. St. Pritzker will save us.
Maybe. Yeah. That's.
Yeah. But I saw a path to how we could be fired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. Like just watching this John Oliver thing, I was like, oh my God, we really do have to vote. Not like I'm not going to vote, but I was like, oh my God, this actually, maybe I got a little worried. So I was watching that, the middle of the night, and then I was like, oh, I'll show that to my mom. And he's got it cut in with, it starts with him saying, this is going to be boring for you, but not as boring as MLF Manor. I don't know what MILF Manor. I don't even know what that is. It's older women having sex with young boys and their dads or something. And he's like, here's a clip of this. This is really bad. He shows a clip of that. And then he's like, so now I'm going to, what I'm going to tell you is not as bad as that. That's more exciting, but here's people fucking who shouldn't be fucking. And then here's some news, and then he cuts to the MILF Manor thing 3 times. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like, while it's happening, I'm like, I have to look up what this acronym means. Are you going to look it up?
No.
Okay, good. Don't. I have to look it up, and
I want to get to the point here. But
the point is like I show this to my mom, and like we're at the beginning of it. I turn on the closed caption, and my mom is like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not the news part, Mom. Just ignore it. He's going to get to the news part in a minute.
So this is the thing, is like, so Neil Brennan's thing was all about like how, like why are you giving weight to people like Dave Chappelle and what they say? It's like, when did they decide, like who decided, let's find out what the clowns think, right? And so his whole kind of position is that, why are we listening to these stupid comedians, right, making these proclamations about, society and culture and everything like that. Why are we listening to them? Right? And the thing is like, well, this is why, right? Because again, this is how the political discourse and the concept of what's going on in this country is
it's because our attention
translated.
spans are 20 seconds.
It's just the way we process it is through entertainment, right? And entertainment is a powerful thing. And so you kind of can't have it both ways, right? It's like, oh, this is just a superficial, why are we letting the clowns, why are we giving them any importance in what they have to say? And it's like, well, we do, right? And or we give entertainment is a powerful tool.
Artists can scream, scientists can't.
Exactly. And so, yeah.
So Danny Ingram here says, I try to avoid hyperbole, but I am desperately afraid that young people have bought into the big false equivalency that Biden or Trump are the same. That is, you don't have to be afraid, Danny, because they have. And, or Fox and MSNBC are the same, and they are the same. And that apathy could land us with Trump again. That's exactly what is going to happen. I promise you, that's what's going to happen. And
well,
like the Biden team is starting to wake up now, and trying to. Because that's what I hear. I teach at a college. I know exactly what people are saying. They're both old. I'm not going to vote to prove a point.
Oh,
on,
and then so you. Again, like
no, stay alive, Danny.
Listening to that hard fork with Justin Trudeau, and it was just like, I'm going to fucking kill myself. It's like, why?
Oh, listen to the Hard Fork episode with Justin Trudeau if you haven't listened to the Hard Fork episode with Justin.
How old is he? I'm looking up how old is he. He's like
he's
our age, right?
He's our age.
When was he born? 71. Okay, so he's 52.
He's younger.
He's a little younger,
us.
but he's Gen X, right? But like listening to him talk, right? And it's just like, oh, here's a coherent person who's not 80 years old, and is talking about technology, economics, and having an in-depth conversation about it, whether or not
oh my God, it's so wonderful.
A poser or a pretty boy. It's just like, okay, this is a person who can at least talk coherently about and in-depth about ideas and make an argument. It's like, oh, well, yeah, if people, like there's a brain drain. It's like all the AI people, go to Silicon Valley, right? They leave Canada, and he's like, well, yeah, if they want, and he's like, well, that's a problem, but we make the argument that if you want to live in a community with schools, and positive,
so, like,
diverse, communities,
It throws a little shade, like like the way that John Oliver and the Yelling Man throw in the sex thing. He's like throwing in really little subtle shade every so often.
And it's like not even shade. It's just kind of like, oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, here's a country that's has public schools that are supported, have a diverse population. They're working on their immigration policies, to allow tech people in.
Yeah, so Hard Fork. I really like the podcast too.
But that was my frustration. It's like, okay, so there's no human, there's no citizen of the United States, native-born citizen over the age of 35, or let's just say in their 50s, who's that coherent. I kind of think, like Pete Buttigieg kind of sounds the same way, right? But for some reason...
But he's gay.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem. I don't know. But it's just like, why can't we have some freaking coherent, at least 50-year-old,
Did he lie or something? I don't
care. I don't want to talk specifically about Pete Buttigieg. I just want to talk about the fact that there is nobody. It's like there are people, but they're not there. They're not present. They're not in our face.
What about our governor?
Our governor, great. he's also a billionaire, whatever. Yes. our
Okay, so
benevolent
Justin
billionaire.
Trudeau is not a billionaire.
He's a nepo baby, I guess. He's the son of
And this is
former
why we
prime
can't
minister.
have good things, because the only way you're going to get somebody is either it's going to be a nepo baby, or he's a nepo baby, I'm not going to vote for him, or he's got too much money, I'm not going to vote for him. That's why we can't have good things, because people like you are not going to.
It's not like I didn't vote for Pritzker for governor.
But you complained about it.
I complain a lot about it.
Yeah,
because
he's too rich.
Yeah, and it's
You want a poor person.
I just don't
rise
I don't need someone.
We had Obama too, right?
Obama
Yeah.
was not rich.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
So
like,
he was okay? Look
Yeah.
what happened.
Look what happened. Well, I think. Well, he
Complained about him
he
the
was
whole
a little
time.
bit
He
of
was
a pussy, but other
He's
than
a
that,
pussy, and he was right wing.
excuse my language. I feel bad for even saying that.
Yeah.
No, he just got tricked.
You
He
don't-
just got tricked
yeah.
into thinking
Yeah.
that you could be a reasonable person when everyone's gone batshit crazy and the whole political world changed, and he for some reason believed in compromise and negotiation and
Danny is saying Jamie Raskin or
Collaboration.
Pete Buttigieg are
Yeah.
great choices.
yeah. It's just they're just not, for some reason, people don't want to hear smart people talk.
I liked. Yeah, people don't want to. Yeah. Well. Maybe we need a Trump presidency in order to another Trump presidency in order to kill off all the.
Yeah, that's what you always go to the it's got to get worse before it gets better, but it's like I feel like it's more like we're landing the plane, it's going to bounce and it's going to start flying again, and then we're going to bounce and then we're going to fly again. It doesn't feel like, to me, things get worse and then it'll get better.
No, it's just
more
bouncing
of
around like
bouncing.
like
It's
the-
not
like the
And at some
environment.
point, the plane is going to shake itself apart because the company building the plane now is self-regulating instead of being regulated by a government agency.
Stephen William here says one nice thing about having a billionaire governor is that he doesn't let other billionaires, like say sports team owners, push him around when they demand millions or billions for new stadiums.
Yeah, exactly. And then, don't even get me started with
the George Lucas thing.
No,
Okay.
the George Lucas thing.
Yeah.
We could talk about that,
All
but
right, no, go
that's different. I think. Yeah.
Go on.
The Griffin, the new Museum of Science and Industry name, the guy,
Oh,
who
I forgot about that.
who left for Florida because because Illinois and Chicago's a cesspool, and he failed to unseat Pritzker. He left town, but now his name has been dumped on the Museum of Science and Industry. I got that email a week or two ago, and I was just so angry.
Oh, I didn't even.
It's called the Griffin. What is it called?
Maybe
Griffin,
I did see it.
Griffin Museum of
Oh,
Science
man.
and Industry.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, for the rest of our lives.
Because you know what's unfortunate about it? He's probably, if he's one of these right-wing loonies, then it's going to be his type of science too.
I don't know if
Ken
that would
Griffin
be.
is the I saw something here and he may have taken it off. All right. Well, so let's cheer Danny Ingram up because he's saying "kill me now."
Oh, wait until November. So this is the other thing, though, is that somebody talking about all of Joe Biden's career is like it's always, he always pulls things out at the last minute. So, I mean, that's the one hopeful thing. The other hopeful thing is that maybe the non-politically engaged people who are that sliver of people, the not wishy-washy, I shouldn't say, the disengaged voter. So the people who actually vote.
Maybe they'll all get pregnant and
They'll
not want to be pregnant.
at some point it'll sink in. Like, so that's the thing is I think that was the other thing is that people get tired of Trump. He burns out, so he just goes from, it's kind of like a scorched earth thing, right? And so
Yeah.
New Yorkers, have hated him for decades, right? It's been, it was because of exposure. And then you've got your apprentice stuff, right? And then you've got him being president. And so I think at some point there is some singeing, burning, scorching that happens with Trump.
Ezra Klein had somebody on the other day who was talking about like Trump's like attacking Biden on inflation. But because of Biden, we're going to have inflation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tax anything
Tariffs.
that's tariffs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to tariff
So it's
anything
gonna-
coming in from.
So it's just
going
going to jack up prices even more.
I know.
Yeah.
That's so like I don't get that. I don't
Well,
get that.
it's because it's a punishment thing. So it just
Oh yeah, I
sounds.
get that. Yeah,
It sounds.
yeah. I'm going to punish you. I'm going to take away all the foreigners.
Punish the Chinese.
Punish
right?
the Chinese.
Which is fine. I mean, I'm. I don't necessarily want to support a authoritarian government, but yeah, the thing is yeah, it's a little confusing when you're gonna wind up jacking up prices. The solution to inflation is tariffs, which is odd.
There was I listened to the whole Ezra Klein. That was an interesting. Yeah, it was an interesting show. Your arm is still hurt, huh?
Oh, I'm just working out it's a different thing. I have a deeper arm shoulder pain, and then I had the installing a new bathroom medicine cabinet pain. That was a temporary pain, but then I have a longer term pain. I installed a medicine cabinet, and it took less time than I expected. I pulled off the old one, and there's a giant, I got to see, 110-year-old hole in the wall, or the inside of one of our walls. It was very exciting.
That's so cool. Was there anything hidden in there?
Nope. I should have put something in there.
Yeah. Why didn't you?
Well,
Yeah,
you can
just-
actually, but I did cover it over. I patched. Yeah, that's right. I could still slip something in there, but I used, I don't know why I did this again. I started using, I was screwing in some additional kind of 2x4s to strengthen the area where the
Yeah, 'cause
mirror was going to be
is
bolted onto, and then I was screwing in a flat panel to kind of even everything out. And I was using flipping Phillips head screws, and I always have a problem with Phillips head screws. I have like a 25-year-old power drill, and I always wind up stripping the screws,
Yeah.
and I just cursing, and then I'm like looking in my box of different screws, and it's like, oh, I've got a whole box of these other wood screws that have the kind of 6-pointed star head, and I got the star head thing, and it's like, that's right. I vowed I would never use a Phillips head screw again in my life. Why am I doing this to myself again? And then I started using the other screw head, and then everything was fine. Just, and it's so, what I was thinking about is whoever's going to have this house 50 years from now or whatever, they're going to, pull that mirror off, and then they're going to look there, and they're going to try to understand why there are some pieces of wood nailed in with 150-year-old nails, and then screwed in with Phillips head screws, and then also some with the star head screws. They're just going to be like cursing. All I think about is because I curse the former owners,
you always
previous
complaining
owners,
about the previous owner.
like the ones who left the old weights in the window sills, like the window channels.
God. Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
weights broke.
Yeah, and they left them in.
They left them in, and then
Put
put in new
ones.
weights in.
Yeah, so they're
instead of taking this wedged out weight. And then what would happen is the new weights would
Wedge
wedge
themselves.
down
Yeah,
and
yeah.
wedge into the old weights. And so I spent a day one time digging out a window weight from the channel and just cursing.
That's probably
It's
why
just
they
like-
didn't. Yeah, it was really weird that they didn't take those out. I
Because
noticed
it's
that.
a huge pain. It's like
okay.
trying to hook and pull
Yeah.
out a wedged in 20-pound weight or whatever, counterweight.
Yeah.
That's kind of just wedged itself down at the bottom
Maybe
of this
it was
channel.
just a worker.
I cut my
Maybe-
hand. No, it's I don't know.
They could have been somebody they hired who just didn't
Yeah,
do a good job.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's probably
just
what
all,
happened.
Yeah.
So, that wall. How old is our house?
I think it was built in 1906.
Okay.
I keep thinking it was 1916. I think
No,
but it's
those
not.
older. Yeah, it's 1906
Yeah.
is more like
So
it.
it's almost 120 years old now.
That's cool. So the so what? Yeah, so the bathroom wall. This is what I wanted to ask you. What is it? A plaster wall?
Yeah. Although It's a little weird. There may be, I think there's lath. It's
Okay.
been cut, but the back, like, so the other side of the hole, right? The other side
Yeah.
of the wall, it's all plaster with lath. But then the side I was putting the mirror on, I think had a layer of plaster, but then I think they've put drywall on top of it. So it had a kind of a weird sandwich of 2 layers. And I don't think it's 2 layers of drywall. I think it's a layer of plaster and then a layer of drywall on top of that. But and then I don't think that there used to be a guy in town who did old school plastering, but like there was an article about him and he was already like 900 years old and like 10 years ago, and I don't think he still does it. But I kind of think to myself, maybe I should learn how to do that.
Yeah, I always think that too. I'm
it
pretty
was,
good at it.
What was it, Joe from
Joe Lally.
Fugazi talking
Yeah.
about learning stucco?
Yeah.
He went to Italy and learned how to do stucco, right?
Yeah.
Like the traditional, and I was like, ooh, that'd be cool. But it also,
I'm great at wall patching, though. I've totally patched, I've patched walls, the plaster walls before. Just with
it's a little more complicated though. The plaster and lath, but it's.
I've gone over plaster and lath.
No, I
I've done
understand.
it like.
I'm
anyway,
saying
yeah.
like doing a whole ceiling.
Yeah.
Right.
I've done a giant patch though. I've done.
I
I've done that.
understand.
Yeah.
But it's an extra level of skill, like doing that on a ceiling, right? That's collapsed in or something like that, and not just say, oh, let's just put drywall on that. But just the fact that my arm hurt after doing that one, putting up that one mirror.
Well,
just like, okay.
Actually, I was remembering
Yeah,
that when I did the tile floor in the tiny bathroom down here, and I did nearly die. I think I hurt my back doing that.
Yeah,
and I don't
yeah.
know why. It's just you just don't
It's
have
just
the
a lot
right tools.
It's not the right tool. It's a lot. It's a lot of work, and you're working muscles that you don't necessarily always work all the time.
Speaking of working muscles that you're not necessarily working all the time, can you talk about what you've been doing at the YMCA? And why? I'm very excited about it. I want to hear a little bit about what spurred this on.
What spurred it on?
Sure, and then what you do there.
Well, I have a personal trainer, which sounds very bougie, but you can like with your membership at the Y, you could with a little bit of extra money, you can get a personal trainer.
Like $300 every a month. $300 a session, right? A session.
Not at all. No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's why I'm doing this. And so, yeah, I got a personal trainer.
It's like $30 or something.
Yeah,
right?
It's nothing for like a half hour advising. So I'm doing a little I've got a routine on the machines because I'm worried about fall risks in my upper body. So I ride my bike and I feel like my lower body is strong. But then I read that whole thing about how old people falling, and one of the big things to sort of survive or not break things is not just lower body strength is not as important as upper body strength, like catching yourself and everything like that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what's going on. Because I'm a little weak from the upper half of my body is very weak.
You got pushed down once, right at the beginning of our relationship, I remember, and like got hurt, right? Right?
Well, that's
like a million years ago.
I don't know why you're bringing that up, but
well,
that's
no,
a little
but
different.
I
but
worried
that's not,
maybe that was
that's
getting
not
pushed.
a strength.
It wasn't getting falling.
That's getting a crushed vertebrae is not a upper body strength issue.
Oh, okay.
Somebody grabs you around the neck and.
So what's your personal trainer like?
Just a big dude who seems cool, lifts weights. But
did he he's like, oh, hey, nerd. Did he say? Does he treat you? Does he call you nerd?
No, very.
Does he call you
very
Valentine? Good. Come here, Valentine.
No.
Do some push-ups.
I think he does say sir though. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But I don't, not in a condescending old man way,
Right.
like that I'm an old man.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? You're making me paranoid. That's
no,
right, Rick.
No, I've met.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've. I've met this guy. I
Oh
think.
yeah, no. Well, the interesting thing, the deepest conversation we had is just the fact that he's able to count while he's talking to me. So he's talking, and then it's like, okay, that's 10. It's
10 what? What are you doing?
10 repetitions of something, and I'm like I'm listening to him, and I just drift off, and it's like he's able to talk and count, like keep track of stuff.
That's cool.
And he's like, oh yeah, and I can even like out of the corner of my eye, I can keep an eye on somebody else and be talking and looking at stuff, and I can keep track of what they're doing. So it's an interesting talent. I think it's like drumming, actually.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think I can do that.
Yeah, it's like being able to keep multiple rhythms going at the same time. Whereas for me, I'm too focused, or
You're
I
a
drift
guitarist.
off. Yeah,
You're more focused. Yeah, yeah. You are like a. Yeah, I wonder if that's a thing, because I'm totally scattered, and you're more focused. Because I'm when you, that's funny when you were like, this person can count at the same time as they're doing something else. I'm like, okay, isn't that something everybody can do?
I'm listening to this book about this introvert. It's like her story. Somebody recommended it on one of the shows, but she. What does she talk about? It's really, the title is really funny. It's like, I'm sorry I'm late. I wasn't going to come, or something like it. It was like just all about how, like, yeah, it was like, I'm sorry I didn't, or yeah, it's the title is funny because it's like I'm at the party, and I'm late because I didn't want to be here.
That sounds.
I'm sorry I'm late. I didn't want to be here. That's what it is, I think. But she talks about, like, she's giving a list of problems she has to one of her friends. And she says, I think I have ADHD. And the friend says back, I don't think you have ADHD. I think you're depressed. And so it was like that thing of, it was really funny because it was like that idea of, oh, I think I have ADHD. And it was like, no, you don't have ADHD. But yeah, and I can focus. Yeah, I can definitely focus, but I can also drift off.
Yeah.
So it's good.
So what's your favorite exercise to do?
I have no favorites. I don't like it. I mean, it's okay because it's smaller things. Like I can't do, yeah, it's okay right now, but it's yeah.
Oh,
it's because I go to a different machine and I'm trying to remember what I'm supposed to do on each machine. And so it's good. I can do that. It's like the running on a treadmill I can't do. I would rather, like if I had a shotgun and I'm running on a treadmill, that would be fine.
You mean like if a shotgun was pointed at you?
Yeah, maybe that, or I just blow my head off after running in place. You know?
That's my whole story, is that to do something like that, you have to listen to LCD sound system or something like that.
And my problem, I can't really listen to music because I start,
you critique it.
Yeah, I get too deep inside. I can listen to classical music, but that's not really good for working out, I don't think.
No, I can't. Well, you could listen to the Carmina Burana.
Oh, when that comes on, that's the thing, is if I'm working and I have the classical, playlist going, and then Carmina Burana shows up, I have to skip it. Well, I have to skip most anything with vocals, but that especially, that becomes distracting because it's so, yeah.
I would have said something different here. You're like thinking.
No, it's more like, oh, this is familiar, and I'm following along, and I'm listening to it, and it becomes distracting as opposed to something that's complex and moving along and non-repetitive. Like I don't think I could listen to Philip Glass, right? I think that would distract me after a while.
Yeah. Okay. So what else? What else you got going on? How are you listening to a book? Is it through Audible? Because I'm paying for Audible.
Hoopla.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, I can get this book on
through the
Libby,
yeah,
which is the library book.
And then Hoopla reads it for you.
But then I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can just listen to it, because I burned through all of my weekend podcasts. Usually, I listen to all my podcasts when I'm doing my housework on Sundays, but since I had been listening to everything on Friday when I was putting in the medicine cabinet, I didn't have anything to listen to. So then I downloaded it I got the audiobook on Hoopla, and it worked out great.
Because I'm thinking of canceling that subscription to Audible.
So the thing with Audible is not to be a shill, and and
Not a
actually that was in
sponsor.
the inshitification.
Yeah.
Cory Doctorow thing too, talking about Audible and cornering the market on audiobooks.
Yeah.
It was not everything's available on
On
Hoopla.
Audible? Oh, on Hoopla. Oh,
Hoopla,
yeah, no, I know that.
maybe.
That's why I went to Audible, is because the stuff I wanted to read was not there.
Yeah.
It was only on
You
Audible.
can't listen to anything that's popular
Yeah.
or in demand.
I can't listen to stuff anyway. I can't concentrate. I have to keep clicking the 15-second back, 30-second back button. I got to listen to it repeatedly over and over and over again. I can't pay attention at all. I start drifting off. It's really frustrating. All right. So, you know what I did this week? I am tasked with doing stuff that the other office administrators do at my job. And so I noticed that one of the things that the office administrators have to do is this repetitive task that is really hard for me, that generates a whole bunch of PDF files, right? From information that it's scattered all over my computer. So usually what I do is I make an Excel sheet so I can at least I have it all. I have the Excel sheet so I can see all of the information at once, because an Excel spreadsheet is useful for that. And then I have to go through and copy and paste into all the PDFs. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, there's got to be a way to do this. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked it, how would I do this? And it gave me some options. And one of the options was to write a Python script. And so I said, oh, that sounds like a great option. How would I do that? And so it wrote the Python script for me. And then I didn't write it completely for me. I worked for like a day on it, but I knew what to ask, it to change and stuff like that. But man, I was so I had so much fun programming again, because the best part about computer programming is when it works, right? And then and then I'm going to add a little bit more to it, and then it works again and stuff like that.
Yeah, the rewards.
It's just like you click run. And then it runs and it does what you wanted it to do. And there's so much power there. And then all of a sudden it took, within between 2 and 5 seconds to generate what I need, what usually takes me 3 or 4 days, because I get distracted in the middle of doing it. You know what I mean? And the computer's not going to get distracted. It will, but it's got a system for that, So I was so excited. And then also I have to use that same information to generate documents too, Word documents. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it can do that too. And there's a library that interfaces Python to Word and to PDFs, and you just use it. And who knew Python is like Fortran? It's formatted. You can't indent in the wrong place. It uses indentation. So that's interesting. And I was using text edit, just not even a format, or not even a good environment. But then I started using Visual, whatever the fuck it's called.
Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, Visual Studio Code.
Okay.
Yeah. And whatever. So all the I could see it color codes the stuff. But I was hanging out with my friend ChatGPT and, coding. And then in the middle of it, it'd be like, hey, I just had a fight with my mom. She's doing this. What should I do? And it would say, well, you got to do this and that. And it's, oh, hey, and by the way, what's this weird stuff hanging off of the trees in the backyard? I'm in Florida. And I took a picture of it and uploaded it. And it was, oh, yeah, it's Spanish moss. I'm like, oh, thanks. It's no problem. I'm here for you for any questions you have. And I was like, hey, how do you add this part to my doc? So I was hanging out with ChatGPT, all week. And then when I go on my social media, I see people going, ChatGPT, AI is taking all of our jobs away. And I just saw somebody posted, I think that, maybe whoever's doing marketing for the institution that we work at used AI in their marketing.
Like visual stuff. Doing visuals. Yeah. So to me, that's, yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's
I
not
don't know
a
what
good
to
use of whatever this is. Not artificial intelligence, generative AI, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think the useful stuff is just, yeah, it's just it's like Clippy has it's
yeah. It is. Yeah.
Chris Lost. No. Yeah, Chris Lost calls AI Clippy. It is. It's just kind of like a more
It's an assistant.
an advanced Clippy. It's like Clippy has become sentient.
So what are we going to do when people like so for instance, I didn't hire a computer programmer or I didn't learn Python. I mean, I learned it a little bit, but I didn't have to learn it a whole lot, and I didn't hire a person who went to college to learn Python to make this time-saving apparatus for me. I didn't do that.
So
Is that
there's
a
a
problem?
really great, I can't remember if it's Planet Money. It's all about the guy who developed the first spreadsheet program, basically, and, developed it and initially didn't market it, basically just used it in his own accounting and basically went from, so in the old days, the way you did a spreadsheet for like a corporation is it was literally like a huge bunch of pieces of paper taped together on a conference table with numbers, and then if you had to change a value, you'd erase and then start adding everything up down the columns. And so when you were doing these huge complex spreadsheets, it would take days, to recalculate and redo stuff.
Are we having an eclipse right now?
Yeah, no, sun. I think it's just going down.
Yeah.
And then, he just talked about how once he actually programmed a spreadsheet program, then he was basically, doing all this accounting, but it was going from taking a day to do everything to 10 minutes to do these things.
Yeah.
And yet he was not charging less. He was just cranking through things and then finally commercialized it, right? And then everything changed. But it's kind of the same thing. To me, it's exactly what programming is, right? It's finding more efficient ways of doing things. So I don't think you would have hired a programmer to do this, right?
Okay, all right. Well,
and you are a programmer,
right? Exactly. What I'm saying is
it's not like you just. I guess at some point,
Yeah.
ChatGPT will just be able to do this, and somebody doesn't need to learn how to program. You don't need to learn how to program. You just ask it to build this thing. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that the people in marketing at our institution who just asked the AI to create, or the large language model or whatever, the generative AI to create a picture for them instead of hiring a photographer or going out and taking the picture. It's the same thing. There's a lot of people complaining on my Facebook feed about it. I know artists who rightly will complain about that. You know what I mean? And I don't.
Well, I mean,
I kind of feel like this is I feel this the same way. I'm trying to go. I always go back to when people were hi Joe, were trading MP3s for the first time, and nobody needed to buy our records anymore. And I just don't remember being upset about it and crying about it. I remember thinking, okay, well, they can all get our music for free. That's kind of good. More people can get our music. What are we going to do next?
But I mean, the thing is though, I mean, you're being a little disingenuous about the economy we were participating in, the music economy. And so, yeah, you can say, oh, we made a living, but we were also getting money from a contract that was, based on CD sales of other artists.
That's
right?
true.
And, and that whole economy. I mean, we did make money touring and selling T-shirts, right?
And we didn't sell our CDs. We were like, oh, okay, the T-shirts are what makes money. So we worked on making T-shirts. Then that's what made money, and beer. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate, whatever. But that's, you adapt. But
yeah, I guess so.
And so it frees you up to do, like what this did was it freed me up to do other things, right? So
well, you're kind of. I feel like you're doing an unfair comparison, because you're saying like creative work, and then you're saying programming something to fill out forms for your job, right? and you're making them equivalent.
Well, I think that for marketing, it's not creative work. It's filling out another form to try to get people to come to the university or whatever, right? It's not a work of art. It's I need to generate an ad, or I need to get some information. I need to get this communication out, like Reggie Redbird went to the
I guess
the
so.
game, so
advertising didn't exist until 100 years ago or something, and so there was no job as a graphic designer or as a photographer, to do promotion. And so you're saying this is it's just like when the agricultural economy gave way to the industrial economy.
And I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying, yay, AI, take away all of the artists' jobs. Fuck the artists. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's here now.
Yeah, and so, you can talk about adapting, but so I guess, the adaptation. So, but the adaptation is that we have this system that's basically working its way into basically moving all the wealth to a very few number of people,
and that's
nobody having any
Right.
jobs and wealth on the other end, right?
Right.
It's this total thinning out, and what always happens.
That's happening without AI.
And but it's also happening. AI is helping
Yeah.
with that, right?
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
It's basically just this digitization, right? The shift to digital, right? So that started with, what would you say? Well, just started with computers. Right, so even me talking about the spreadsheets, right? Started with that.
Right.
It's computers, digital, and then the internet, and then that's why to me this AI stuff is like, it's just part of this larger shift that's been happening, right? The digital shift,
right,
or the computer shift, whatever you want to call
Tools.
it, right? So when we switched from agricultural to industrial, unfortunately, there was. People had to adapt, but also part of that adaptation process was a massive, violent, global catastrophe, I would say, right? Which is the 20th century, right? If you look at the 20th century not as just going from horse-drawn carriages to men walking on the moon, but you also look at it from regional war to genocidal, large-scale, wholesale destruction of communities and human beings, right? Mm-hmm. It's also a huge, violent upheaval. And so lots of loss of life. And you could say, that's directly tied to these economic and cultural shifts, right? And
because they gave people more power to destroy each other?
Well, no, it's just about a shift in power and It's like when the kid asked about who decided these people were kings, and it was all about power and violence and territory. And then in the 20th century, the industrialization, it's still the same thing, but it's on a larger industrial scale, right? War on an industrial scale as opposed to on just a land agricultural scale, right? War on a land scale, and then you have a war on an industrial technology scale, and now we're going to have a huge we're having a huge cultural shift, shift in human culture through digital computer technology, right? And so that's the worry, is adapt, but that adaptation can, if no one has wealth or power, right, and becomes a digital subsistence farmer, which is a term I've used many times, right? You're going back to everyone was basically on their little plot of land scraping to try to survive, right? And if you do that in the digital world, that's going to be a really, really depressing world, right? And so you can say, you got to adapt, but what does that adaptation mean? It's like, you got to be a good digital subsistence farmer. And
then what do I say?
People who own everything and control.
Yeah, I'm trying. I want to know what to say.
The means of consumption as opposed to the means of production, right? So the means of consumption, right, is going to be run by 10 people.
Yeah. So I want to know what to say as an educator to, our fellow artists whose livelihoods are being replaced by machines.
So, I mean, this is it's just like if you look at musicians as the canaries in the coal mine, right? It's just like, well, in the commodification of music, right? And the history of this, right, from sheet music or even earlier from walking around town to town.
Minstrels.
Yeah, minstrels
Walking
playing,
minstrels.
being the jester, being the entertainment, walking from village to village. You're all, the creatives are always on the low end of the economic food pyramid, right? And so it's being an artist and being a creative is unfortunately like taking a vow of poverty, right? And so
get a real job.
it's not even get a real job. There aren't any. That's the problem, is everybody else is going to be in the same place, is the thing. Is like all the real jobs, right, are going to be the same. So like if like an accountant, like there's not going to be accountants. It's even that. It's like why would that even exist?
Right. Yeah. You wouldn't need that.
And so how are we going to, how is human
gonna
society going to reconfigure itself?
We're going to need computer programmers.
And that's the other thing, is you could just always go into a dark age, right? Yeah. So it's just the ultimate hubris in thinking that, we're going to make it through this and survive, as opposed to, if somebody can commandeer, 4 planes with box cutters, it's like, as the systems get more and more complex, right? It's just the idea that we'll be plunged into sorry everyone. When Rick gets apocalyptic,
So
it's time to end the show. You plunge us into a new dark ages.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is, so what our little communities, our little city states, so maybe Illinois or certain universities, right? You're going to be those monasteries, keeping knowledge alive and everything like that. What is that canticle for Leibowitz, whatever that book is?
I never finished reading that.
Yeah. That book is all about that. It's just like, this is a cycle. Like you think, this monk is living in the dark ages of the 15 or 1300s or 1200s, and it's like you realize, no, he's living in the aftermath of this culture.
I don't understand why you like here. Like I wrote this program, and I was like, oh my god, I don't have to. The next time I have to do this, it's only going to take me like 30 seconds instead of 4 days, and I have time to do something much cooler.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the and that's what that meme, that idea that's going around is like, I want AI to do my laundry and clean my house. I don't want it to, make my art, right?
Yeah.
And eliminate my job. It's like, and so to me, you using it as a programmer to write a program, that's kind of just a continuation of this idea of programming.
Actually, that meme,
right?
like that meme that you just talked about, like that's what made me. Since I didn't have to work and do all this extra stuff now, and I'm not getting paid for it anyway at this point. Since I didn't have to do that, I started knitting again. I'm making a nice vest for myself, and it's the rows are piling up, and I was thinking about how since I wrote this program, now I have extra time to do something fun, like art or like knitting, crafting. And then I used the AI to count how many rows. That's why I took a picture of it, because I wasn't sure how many rows I'd knit. And I took a picture. I realized that if it can process, it can process photos, which it can do now. Like then it can keep track of how many rows I did. And I was like, I was really excited about that.
And that's the promise of technology, right? Is to make our lives easier and to give us more time to do what we want. And that's not what has happened. It's in the history again, but that's probably because of capitalism, right?
Right.
And so the question is are we going to be able to do this in a way where it's like, we're going to be able to have more sort of free, enriching lives that don't involve work? Or is it just simply going to be, we're going to be working more and more and more for less and less and less?
Yeah, I think the power of AI is so powerful that I don't see how we're going to end up in the what is that Star Wars show with the
Andor?
Yeah, it's not going to be like Andor. the Empire Andor, or maybe it will. I don't know. Joe Christmas says Apocalypse Corner with Rick Valentin, and I don't know. You know what's really funny? Wow, that got longer. Somebody this kind of bummed me out. We'll leave you with this. I think it was on the Ezra Klein one with it was some, or I listened to Pod Save America too, and I was just listening and was like turning into soup in my head. But one of the politicians said something, and one of the Republicans said, I would much rather save capitalism than save our democracy. So capitalism is way more important to save than saving the democracy. It was a great quote. I think it was the Ezra Klein.
Yeah, late stage democracy is what I've been saying. I think that's where we're at right now. We're growing lots of tomatoes in our backyard. We can just keep growing food in our backyard. It just seems like a very rebellious act. I was so positive about how this is the new Eden, come to Central Illinois, but it's way too hot. I'm already miserable. Too hot, too humid in June.
We should get a window unit or something.
Nobody told me Eden would be this hot.
That's the end right there. That's the closing quote. Thank you for listening.